12 years of homeschooling, and my biggest real regrets don't involve the curriculum that I should have chosen or the activities that I wish I would have done or we would have completed. I have those feelings that, yeah, there are things that I wish we had done now, whether I would have followed through then, which we know is a big issue with me, or what I see now and people doing, I think, oh, if only I'd done those. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about the things we really regret. And all of the things that I really regret all revolve around the relationships. If you are new here, I'm Tricia, and I have 3 kids, and my oldest, which is what's put me into a lot of sentimental moods as of late, is in 11th grade. So I am quickly counting down the time until, or I'm not quickly doing it, the time is quickly coming until she is done. We have homeschooled from the very beginning, and I feel it. I feel the weight of all those years, and I feel the weight of how little time there is left. In fact, in our conversation the other day, she was asking me what credits she still had left, because we were talking about doing summer school. She's been taking classes at the community college. So she was talking about doing summer school and what she needs to do next year. And we realized that there was only technically 1 class left. We're going to do 4 credits of science, so she'll technically have 2, or she'll have 2, but she could graduate with just 1 more credit, and that's it. And so the weight of all of those things I truly regret, sometimes they really weigh on me. I've shared this story before, but there was, when my daughter, my poor first child, was about 6, and we were doing first language lessons. And one of the activities in there was working with the seasons and the months that go with each season. And it's been spread out over a couple lessons, if I remember correctly. And anyway, she was not getting it. She couldn't remember what months went where, couldn't even remember all the months. She was 6. And I was so frustrated, and I'm not going to go into the whole story. I will link the video where I did. It's one that I hate that I had it to share, but I'm glad that I did. Anyway, I will link it down there. And I lost my mind that she couldn't get it. Again, she was 6. 6. She's 16 now, and I assure you, she knows her months and her years. But I was so frustrated, and the book said she should be able to do it. And so I let that weigh on me to the point that I was a yelling, angry mess. For what purpose? 16, she knows that December is a winter month. She knows it. She can tell you all 12 months in a year. She knows them. But I was so focused on that. There's also the regrets I have about learning to read with her. And I've shared some of that in various videos, but I have one specific one that I will, again, link it down there, that talks about the reading journeys of my 3 different kiddos. Very different. They each had a very different path to learning to read. I started homeschooling before Instagram. Facebook was in its infancy, but there were no groups yet. Blogs were still more just like hobbies, like sharing what you do each day type of thing. More like kind of what Instagram is now. All of that. But message boards were still quite popular. And through them, I got this idea that Homeschool kids love to read, and they learn to read early. When we started kindergarten, she was almost 5. I was absolutely determined that she was going to learn to read. And I didn't understand how much of a journey it could be, and that it wasn't a matter of choosing the right curriculum in order to get your child to read. And this is one of the reasons why I push back so hard anytime I hear someone say, this is the best curriculum to do whatever. Because I went through a series of curriculum, determined that I just had to choose the right one, because at not yet 5, any kid could learn to read if they just had the right curriculum. That was not her story. And I vividly remember sitting on the couch with her, getting so frustrated that she was in tears because she wasn't reading. My middle kiddo now is going through Beast Academy, and he's 7th grade, 12, just turned 13 actually, and he is in the last book of Beast Academy, which, if you know, is roughly a 6th grade curriculum. He's in 7th grade. He is quite competent with math, but he doesn't enjoy it. Technically, he should have been able to finish this last year. Skill-wise, he could have finished it last year. But he hates math. I shouldn't say hates. He really dislikes math. And so for him, learning that if we went at a slower pace made everything more enjoyable for both of us, made math time more enjoyable for both of us, it was worth slowing down. No, he's not where his sister was at this age. Math comes easier for her, but still, in theory, he should be further along. But I really recognized with him that saving our relationship and that connection was far more important than where he should be. We could have forced through it. But I just knew that it wasn't going to be the best choice for him. And I am so glad that we slowed down. And I just let him go. Now we have supplemented here and there, and that has slowed things down. We do Beast Academy, or Life of Fred as well. We have worked periodically with a pre-algebra book that he will actually complete when he's done with 5D. But still, we should be further along. But it's okay that we're not. Because that relationship is much more important. And when we focus on those relationships, above getting all the boxes checked off, or goals met that we have set, your kids know, they internalize so much about, I don't have to tell you, you know that as a mom. They internalize all of that stuff, and they'll know whether we think they're right or not. They'll know that. And if we go slower and meet them where they are, they're also going to know that. They're going to know that we are here to meet them, to work with them through their struggles, to be their guide, to walk beside them. And that confidence that will come when we focus on meeting them where they are, that's the most important skill that they need in order to find success later. Whether they have memorized their times table doesn't determine that. Whether they know what months go with what seasons doesn't determine that. Whether they are finishing a 6th grade curriculum as a 7th grader or not doesn't determine their success later. None of that does. But when we give them the skills to know how to work through the tough times, to know that they are capable, to know how to adjust things to meet their struggles, and that all of that is okay, that's going to set them up for success. Because when they go to college or a job, if something's hard, they're going to be able to problem solve. And when they're frustrated and feeling like they're going to, they may not do well on a test, they're going to know who to call. Because you've put that relationship first. And I'm not just talking about when they have struggles. If a curriculum isn't working for them, for whatever reason, forcing it is probably not going to make it any better. And as a result, it's probably going to be that you or them or both of you are going to end up in frustration or tears. And if they hate a book that they're reading, there are thousands and thousands of fantastic literature. So much literature out there. Give them something else. Yeah, sometimes it's worth struggling through a boring book for learning, perseverance skills, or if there's some real reason that you want them to learn that book. But but be mindful about that, because you don't want them to dislike books because you force some stupid book on them. Let them switch. There's so much great literature out there that wasting it on bad literature that they don't enjoy, why? When the kids are little, I get it. I remember it's hard to focus on the bigger picture. But mamas, I promise you, your little 6-year-old is going to be 16 in the blink of an eye. And you're going to be looking at colleges or looking at trade schools or figuring out what's next. And you're going to flash back to this moment at the age they are right now. And you are going to wish with all your might that you could have one of those moments again. And I told myself I wasn't going to cry. But right as I'm taping this, I'm listening to my kids downstairs playing a game while they eat lunch. And I know that we have so few of these days left. And I wish I could go back to that little 4-year-old on the couch with her little Bob book in her hand, trying so hard. I wish I could just read it to her again. And I wish that little 6-year-old who couldn't get the season of the months, that I just, the point of the whole thing was copying them and writing them out. I wish I had just given her a chart for her to copy. Or skip the lesson altogether. You can't teach it all anyway. So the thing that you're stressing about, push it off if it's causing conflict. Or find another way. If it costs you a month on your schedule, so be it. You can't teach it all anyway. So just imagine that whatever that 1 month that they'll miss as a senior, because you're behind right now by a month, whatever it is, just push it off and let them figure it out as an adult. I mean, really. This time is important, and their education is important. But those relationships, those are the most important. Okay? If you take nothing else from me and my channel, I want you to take that. Because nothing else is important that they learn in your homeschool. That you are forever their biggest fan, and that you forever believe they can do things. Okay? So, we'll end this now before I cry anymore, and I will see you in the next video.